The conference hall floated in the void, a massive ring of metal and light circling a dead star. Inside, representatives from 847 worlds argued about the same problem they had debated for 6 months. They were coming, and no one knew how to stop them. Commander stood at the tactical display, his scaled hands moving across the hologram. Red markers showed the advance. 30 systems lost, billions dead. The enemy moved like a plague, consuming everything in their path. As people, they were warriors. They had fought in every major conflict for 3,000 years, but even they were losing. "We need new strategies," High Arbiter said from his seat. The old leader looked tired. His fur had turned gray over the past months. "Our fleets cannot match their numbers. Our weapons barely scratch their armor. What do we have that they fear?" The room fell silent. Admirals and generals looked at their feet. No one had an answer. The Galactic Council had known peace for so long that war had become something they studied in books, not practiced in reality. A door opened at the back of the chamber. An elderly figure shuffled inside, carrying a data tablet that looked older than most of the people in the room. Scholar Na moved slowly, her joints stiff with age. She taught history at the Archive World, a planet dedicated to preserving the past. "Forgive my interruption," Na said, her voice soft but clear. "But I believe I have something relevant to share." Turned to look at her. He had met Na once before, years ago when she gave a lecture about ancient civilizations. She had seemed odd then, obsessed with dead cultures that no longer mattered. "Scholar, we are discussing military matters. Unless you have a weapon hidden in that tablet, I do not think history will help us now." Na smiled, the kind of smile teachers give students who think they know everything. "History is a weapon, Commander. Those who forget it are doomed to repeat the mistakes of the past, and those who remember it can learn from those who came before." She moved to the display and inserted her tablet. The hologram changed. Instead of battle reports, ancient symbols appeared, floating in the air. They looked like no language anyone in the room recognized. Curved lines, sharp angles, dots and circles arranged in patterns that seemed both random and purposeful. "These are Terran glyphs," Na explained. "From the Dark Age, more than 50,000 years ago, before the Council existed, before most of our civilizations had even discovered fire." High Arbiter leaned forward. "Terran, you mean the humans? Scholar Na, surely you are not suggesting we seek help from fairy tales?" Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Some delegates laughed, others shook their heads. Everyone knew the stories about humans. They were bedtime tales told to children. Ancient warriors who could defeat any enemy, who built weapons that could crack planets and ships that moved faster than light itself. They were myths, nothing more. "I'm not speaking of fairy tales," Na said firmly. "I am speaking of historical fact. Humans existed, we have proof. Ruins on dead worlds. Technology we still cannot understand. Records in a dozen different languages, all telling the same story. Humanity was real, and they were the greatest warriors the galaxy had ever known." Crossed his arms. "If they were so great, where are they now? Why have we never met them? Why are there no humans in the Council?" Na tapped her tablet. New images appeared. A planet burned and lifeless, cities reduced to glass, orbital platforms shattered into debris. Because they destroyed themselves. The humans fought a civil war so terrible that it consumed 1,000 worlds. When the smoke cleared, those who remained made a choice. They gathered their ships and left. They flew beyond the galactic rim into the void between galaxies, never to return. "Then they are gone," said. "What good does knowing about them do us?" "Because they left something behind." Na's eyes gleamed with the excitement of a scholar who has found a great secret. "Defense protocols, automated systems designed to protect the galaxy in their absence, and warnings written in every language they encountered. Warnings that said if war ever consumed the galaxy again, if genocide and destruction became commonplace, then humanity would return." The room erupted in noise. Delegates shouted over each other. Some called Na a fool, others demanded proof. A few looked afraid, though whether they feared the idea of ancient humans returning could not tell. He studied the symbols on the display. Something about them felt wrong, not fake but dangerous, like looking at a weapon and knowing that someone had died by it. Scholar Na, even if we believed you, what would you have us do? Send a message into empty space and hope someone hears it? Pray to ghosts? The systems are already active, Na said quietly. The room went silent. 3 days ago, a monitoring station near the galactic edge powered on for the first time in 50. I have been tracking similar activations across Council space. Something has triggered the Terran protocols. The ancient machines are waking up. High Arbiter stood, his diplomatic calm finally cracking. And you wait until now to tell us. What if these machines attack? What if humanity's ghosts decide we are the threat? Na met his gaze without fear. Then we will have a much bigger problem than but I do not think that will happen. The protocols were designed to protect, not destroy. Humanity may have been warriors, but they were not monsters. They fought to defend, not to conquer. You speak as if you knew them, said. I have studied them my entire life, Na replied. I have read their words, seen their art, analyzed their technology. I know them better than most people know their own ancestors. And I know this. If humanity returns, they will learn what it means to face an enemy that has been preparing for war for 50,000 years. Wanted to argue. He wanted to dismiss the old scholar and return to real strategies, but something in her voice stopped him. Certainty. Na believed every word she spoke, and if she was right, if humans were more than legend, then everything was about to change. Very well, said slowly. Continue monitoring these activations. Report any changes immediately, but we cannot base our defense on myths and hope. Commander, prepare the fleet for the next engagement. We fight with what we have, not with what we wish we had. The meeting ended. Delegates filed out, returning to their ships and their doomed strategies. Remained behind, staring at the ancient symbols. Na stood beside him, quiet and patient. Do you really believe they will come? He asked. Na looked up at the stars beyond the viewport. I do not believe, Commander. I know. Humanity made a promise. And if there is one thing the records all agree on, it is this. Humans always keep their promises. Said nothing. He did not believe in myths or legends or ancient warriors from the stars. But as he left the chamber and returned to his ship, he could not shake the feeling that Scholar Na knew something the rest of them did not. Something that would change everything. In the void beyond the galaxy, in the darkness between stars, something ancient stirred and began to move. 6 months had passed since Scholar Na's warning, and the war had only gotten worse. Captain Jin sat in the command chair of the patrol ship Vigilant Dawn, watching his sensors paint pictures of empty space. His crew was young, most of them fresh from the academy. They had signed up to explore and discover, not to fight and die. But they had changed everything. Captain, we're detecting something odd, Lieutenant said from her station. She was the ship's language expert, brought along to help communicate with refugees fleeing the war. Now, she spent most of her time listening to enemy transmissions and trying to find patterns in the chaos. Jin walked over to her console. Define odd. Pointed at her screen. Waves of energy pulsed across the display, forming patterns that repeated every few seconds. It's a signal, coming from beyond the rim, from outside the galaxy entirely. I have never seen anything like it. Could it be, the Jin asked, some kind of weapon? No, sir. They use quantum encryption for their communications. This is something else. It is old. The encoding method matches nothing in our database except... She paused, her face going pale. Except theoretical reconstructions of pre-council technology. Jin felt a chill run down his spine. He had heard the stories. Everyone had. After Scholar Na's presentation to the council, rumors spread like fire. Some said ancient machines were waking. Others claimed ghosts from the past were returning. Most people dismissed it as superstition. But Jin had learned to trust his instincts, and right now, those instincts were screaming danger. "Can you translate it?" he asked. His fingers flew across her keyboard. Working on it, the structure is simple, almost primitive, like they wanted to make sure anyone could understand it. "Give me a moment." She fell silent, her eyes scanning lines of data. Then she stopped. Her hands dropped to her lap. "Oh no." "What does it say?" Looked up at him, and Jin saw fear in her eyes. "It says, cease aggression against Council worlds. This is your only warning." The bridge went quiet. Every crew member turned to look at their captain. Jin's mind raced. A message from beyond the galaxy. A warning issued to the, written in a language older than civilization itself. It could only mean one thing. "Get me High Arbiter," Jin said, "and find Scholar Na. She needs to hear this." 20 minutes later, Jin stood in his ready room, watching the holographic images of and Na. The High Arbiter looked skeptical. The Scholar looked excited. "You are certain of the translation?" asked. "Doctor checked it 17 times, Jin replied. "The message is clear. Someone out there knows about the war, and they are telling the to stop." Na leaned closer to her camera. "Send me everything. All the data, all the readings. I need to analyze the source coordinates." "Scholar, you cannot seriously believe this is from humans," said. "It could be a trick, the trying to frighten us, or some other power playing games." "Then explain the language," Na shot back. "The encoding method, the location. Captain Jin, where exactly did this signal originate?" Jin pulled up a star chart. A single point glowed in the darkness beyond the galactic rim. "Here, about 5 million light-years from the edge of mapped space. There are no stars there, no planets, nothing but void." Na's breath caught. "Those coordinates, I have seen them before, in an ancient text recovered from a dead world. The humans called that region the Silent Home. It was where they went after they left, after the Civil War. They went there to heal." "Or to die," said. "No," Na shook her head. "Not die, wait. They went there to wait until they were needed again, and now something has happened, something that made them send this message." Jin wanted to believe her, but belief required proof, and all they had was a signal from empty space. "What do we do with this information?" "We ignore it," said firmly. "We cannot change our strategy based on ancient legends and mysterious signals. That will not stop because of a message. We must focus on what we can control, what we can fight." The conversation ended. Jin returned to his bridge, but he could not shake the feeling that they were missing something important, something that could change everything. 3 days later, they destroyed 3 more Council worlds. Billions died in hours. The enemy showed no mercy, no hesitation. They did not care about warnings or messages or ancient threats. They only cared about conquest. And then the second signal arrived. Jin was sleeping when the alarms woke him. He ran to the bridge still in his night clothes, was already at her station, her face glowing in the light of her screens. "It's the same source," she said before he could ask. "Same location, but the message is different now." "Show me." The words appeared on the main display. Simple, direct, terrifying. "Warning ignored. We are coming." Jin felt his blood turn to ice. Around him, his crew stared at the message. No one spoke. No one moved. They all understood what this meant. "How long?" Jin whispered. "Unknown," said. "The signal does not specify, but Captain, there is more. I have been monitoring the old defense platforms. The one Scholar Na mentioned. They are all activating, every single one, across the entire galaxy." Jin pulled up a tactical map. Red dots appeared across the display, thousands of them. Defense stations that had been dormant for longer than any living being could remember. Now they were waking up. Power signatures spiked. Weapon systems came online. Shields activated. "Get me Scholar Na again," Jin ordered. When Na appeared on the screen, she was not in her office. She stood in what looked like an ancient command center, surrounded by holographic displays showing the same platforms Jin was monitoring. "They are preparing," Na said, her voice filled with awe. "The Terran protocols, defense systems left behind to protect the galaxy. They are preparing for humanity's return." "How long do we have?" Jin asked. Na studied her displays. "Based on the activation sequence, I would estimate 4 weeks, maybe less. The platforms are not just waking up. They are calculating jump points, navigation routes. They are showing someone the way home." "The way home," Jin repeated. "You mean humans are actually coming, real humans, not machines or automated defenses?" "Yes," Na's eyes shone with tears. "They are coming back. After 50,000 years in exile, humanity is coming home, and they are coming to wage war." Jin should have felt relieved. Reinforcements were arriving. Ancient warriors with technology beyond imagination were coming to save them. But all he felt was dread. Because if the stories were true, if humans were as dangerous as the legends claimed, then the galaxy was about to learn what real war looked like. "What do we do?" he asked. Na looked at him through the screen, and Jin saw something in her expression that frightened him more than any fleet. Understanding. She understood what was coming. She understood what humanity would bring. "We prepare," she said simply. "We prepare for the storm." Across the galaxy, on every council world, people looked up at the stars and wondered what was coming. They continued their advance, confident in their strength. High Arbiter tried to calm the panic spreading through the government. Commander his fleets for battles he knew they could not win. And beyond the rim, in the darkness between galaxies, thousands of ships turned toward home. They had been gone for 50,000 years. They had built new worlds, raised new generations, healed old wounds. They had tried to forget what they were, what they had been. But the galaxy was burning, and humanity remembered how to fight fire with fire. The message was clear. The warning had been given and ignored. Now there was only one thing left to do: return, and remind the universe why humans had left in the first place. Not because they were weak, not because they were afraid, but because they were too good at making others afraid. Admiral Sung had fought in 17 battles against the. He had won 3. The rest were desperate retreats where survival counted as victory. Now he commanded what remained of the Council's fleet, barely 200 ships protecting a sector that needed 2,000. His orders were simple: hold the line until reinforcements arrived. But everyone knew no reinforcements were coming. Commander stood beside Sung on the bridge of the flagship Eternal Resolve. After 6 months of losing, had learned humility. His confidence had been beaten down by reality. They were not just stronger. They were faster, smarter, more ruthless. Every tactic the Council tried, the enemy countered. Every trap they set, the enemy avoided. "Sensors are going crazy again," the tactical officer reported. "Same readings as yesterday. Space itself is bending." Sung nodded. For 3 days, their instruments had been detecting anomalies, ripples in space-time, energy signatures that made no sense. Scholar Na said it meant the humans were close. Most people thought it meant their sensors were breaking down from overuse. "Admiral, the fleet is moving," said, studying his display. "They are heading straight for us. 300 ships." Sung closed his eyes. 300 against 200. And the ships were better armed, better armored. This was not a battle, it was an execution. "Sound the alert. All ships to combat positions. We will make them pay for every meter of space." The fleet formed up, preparing for their final stand. Captains said goodbye to their families over long-range communications. Engineers checked weapons one last time. Marines loaded their rifles with ammunition they knew would not be enough. Everyone waited for the end. Then space tore open. It started as a shimmer like heat waves on a desert planet. Then the shimmer grew, expanding into a hole in reality itself. And through that hole something came, something massive, something impossible. A ship emerged from the warp. It was black as the void between stars, so dark it seemed to drink in light rather than reflect it. The ship was huge, easily twice the size of anything in Sung's fleet. Weapons covered every surface, gun ports and missile bays and devices that looked like nothing in any database. The hull was smooth, organic almost, as if it had been grown rather than built. Then another ship appeared, and another, and another. "Count them," Sung whispered. The tactical officer's voice shook. 10, 20, 50, Admiral, they are still coming. 100 ships, 200, 300. The officer paused. They have stopped. Final count 347 vessels, all unknown design, all heavily armed. The bridge fell silent. Everyone stared at the displays. The mysterious fleet hung in space between the council and like a wall of darkness separating two enemies. "Are they targeting us?" asked. "Negative, they are, just sitting there, waiting." A message came through on all frequencies, audio only. The voice was female, calm, speaking in perfect council standard. "Council vessels, this is Colonel of the Terran Defense Fleet. We have received your distress call. We are here to help." Sung and looked at each other. Terran, human, the legends were real. "Open a channel," Sung ordered. His hands were shaking. "Colonel, this is Admiral Sung of the Galactic Council. We did not send a distress call." A pause, then spoke again. "The galaxy is burning, Admiral. That is distress enough. We have been watching. We have seen what they do to conquered worlds. We have seen the genocide, the destruction. This is why we are here." You are human." "Yes, Admiral, we are human, and we have come home." On the main screen, an image appeared. Colonel stood in what looked like a command center. She wore a black uniform covered in equipment Sung did not recognize. Her face was smooth, young-looking, but her eyes were old. Eyes that had seen terrible things. Behind her, Sung could see other humans, dozens of them, working at stations with focused intensity. "We need tactical data," said. "Everything you know about the fleet positions, technology, strategies, we need it now." Stepped forward. "Colonel, perhaps we should discuss this. Establish protocols. We need to coordinate our forces, plan our approach." His expression did not change. "Commander, the fleet is 3 million kilometers away and closing. We have approximately 40 minutes before they reach firing range. There is no time for discussion. Send us the data or stand aside. We will handle this either way." Sung made a decision. "Send her everything. All our intelligence, all our battle reports, everything." The data streamed across space. Watched it flow across her screens, her eyes moving faster than should be possible. She was reading everything, absorbing information at an inhuman rate. After 30 seconds, she nodded. "Understood, we have analyzed your reports. They use aggressive swarm tactics combined with overwhelming firepower. Their shields are strong but single-layer. Their weapons are plasma-based, effective but predictable. They rely on fear and momentum rather than strategy." She turned to someone off-screen. "Execute pattern Sigma 7, full engagement, no survivors." "Wait," Sung said. "Colonel, you just read 6 months of combat data in 30 seconds. That is impossible." Looked back at him, and Sung saw something in her eyes that made him glad she was on his side. "Admiral, humans have had 50,000 years to advance. We have had 50,000 years to prepare. We have technology your people cannot imagine. We have weapons that would horrify you. And we have been waiting for this moment for longer than your civilization has existed. Now, if you will excuse me, I have a war to end." The channel closed. Sung watched as the human fleet began to move. They did not fly like council ships, engines burning bright. They glided, silent and smooth, like sharks through water. The formation they took was nothing like anything Sung had seen before. It was fluid, constantly shifting, each ship covering another in an intricate dance of position and timing. "They are firing," Tactical reported. "Plasma torpedoes, thousands of them." The missiles streaked toward the human fleet. Sung held his breath. But the humans did not dodge or raise shields. Instead, every ship fired at once, not missiles or plasma, something else. Beams of pure white light that moved faster than anything should move. The light touched the missiles and they simply stopped existing, not exploded, not destroyed. They ceased to be, erased from reality as if they had never been there at all. "What was that?" whispered. Scholar Nu's voice came over the communication system. She was watching from her research station. "Quantum disruptors. They unmake matter at the subatomic level. The weapons existed in theory 50,000 years ago. Humans made them real." The human fleet reached engagement range. What happened next would haunt Sung's dreams for the rest of his life. The humans did not fight like the Council. They did not try to disable enemy vessels or target specific systems. They simply erased them. Ship after ship vanished in flashes of white light. They tried to fight back, firing everything they had. But human shields absorbed the attacks without even flickering. And the return fire never missed. In 12 minutes, 300 ships became debris. Not one human vessel took damage. Not one. "This is not a battle," said quietly. "This is an execution." Colonel's voice returned. "Admiral Sung, the immediate threat has been eliminated. We are moving to engage the main fleet. I recommend you fall back to defensive positions and tend to your wounded. We will contact you when the sector is secure." "How long will that take?" Sung asked. 3 days, maybe 4. They have approximately 2,000 ships in this region. We will need time to find them all. 2,000 ships. Colonel, we have been fighting them for months. We could barely handle 100. Smile was cold and sharp. "You are not us, Admiral. We have been preparing for this war since before your species knew what war was. Trust us. We know what we are doing." The human fleet jumped away, vanishing into warp space with a precision that should not be possible. Sung stared at the empty space where they had been. Around him, his crew sat in shock, trying to process what they had just witnessed. "They are going to win," said. It was not a question. "Yes," Sung replied. "They are going to win, and that terrifies me more than they ever did." Scholar Na appeared on the screen from her station. She looked older somehow, tired. "I tried to warn you. Humanity did not leave because they were weak. They left because they were too strong. Because when they wage war, nothing can stop them. They are not here to help us win. They are here to make sure to learn what happens when you wake a sleeping dragon." For 3 days, the human fleet moved through space like a storm. They hit supply bases, command centers, shipyards. They destroyed everything military and left civilian populations untouched. It was surgical, precise, and absolutely merciless. The who had seemed unstoppable fell apart. Their war master sent desperate messages demanding the humans fight with honor. His response was simple. "Honor is for those who deserve it. You do not." On the 4th day, the humans returned to Council space. Colonel requested a meeting with High Arbiter. Sung and were invited to attend. They gathered in a virtual conference room, holograms facing each other across space. Stood straight, her uniform perfect, her face neutral. "The sector is secure. We are now advancing into the core systems. We estimate total victory in 90 days. 90 days, repeated. "We have been fighting for 9 months and made no progress." "You are not equipped for this kind of war," said simply. "You built a civilization on peace and cooperation. That is admirable, but it makes you vulnerable to those who choose violence. We do not have that weakness. We were built for war. We evolved through war. We are very, very good at it." "Had to know. What happened to you, out there beyond the galaxy? What did you become?" His expression softened slightly. "We became what we needed to be, Commander. We remembered what we were. And now we are here to make sure you never forget what lurks in the dark, because there will always be enemies, always be threats, and if you are not strong enough to face them, then someone else will have to do it for you." The meeting ended. The humans left to continue their war, and across Council space, people celebrated their salvation while trying not to think about what that salvation cost. They had been saved by monsters, monsters who looked human, monsters who had come home. General Wu watched the planet below through the viewing port of his command ship. Prime, the enemy, cities covered the surface like scars on skin. Millions lived down there, maybe billions. Most of them civilians who had nothing to do with the war. But General Wu had learned long ago that war did not care about guilt or innocence. War cared about winning. Commander stood beside him. After the first human victories, High Arbiter had asked to work with the humans to learn from them, to understand them. 3 months later, wished he had refused. What he had learned kept him awake at night. The ground assault begins in 1 hour, Wu said. His voice was calm, almost gentle. He was a small man, shorter than most humans had met, but there was something about him that made people step back. A presence, an aura of controlled violence. Your people should stay in orbit. This will not be pretty. I have seen war before, said. Wu turned to look at him. The general's eyes were dark brown, almost black. No, Commander, you have seen conflict, you have seen battles, but you have never seen what we do, what we have to do. I hope you never understand why. Below them, 30 battleships rose from the planet's surface. A desperate last defense. Automated gun platforms opened fire. Missiles launched by the thousands. They were throwing everything they had at the human fleet. The humans did not even slow down. Their shields absorbed the attacks. Their weapons eliminated the battleships in seconds. The gun platforms fell silent, their targeting computers overwhelmed by jamming signals that should not be possible. The path to the planet was clear. Drop pods away, an officer reported. Watched the tactical display. 10,000 pods fell from the human ships, each one carrying soldiers and equipment. They hit the atmosphere at speeds that would kill anything organic, but the humans had long ago solved that problem. Shields absorbed the heat. Thrusters controlled the descent. The pods landed with precision, forming a perfect perimeter around the planet's capital city. Can I observe the ground operation? Asked. Wu considered the question. You may watch from here. I will share my command feed with you. But I warn you, Commander, what you are about to see will change how you view humanity. Once you see what we really are, you cannot unsee it. Nodded, he needed to understand. The Council needed to understand what kind of allies they had gained. The feed connected, saw through the eyes of a human soldier standing outside her pod. Around her, thousands of others assembled in perfect formation. They wore armor that looked like it was part of their bodies, black and sleek, covered in weapons and sensors. Their faces were hidden behind helmets that made them look like insects. Inhuman, frightening. General Wu's voice came through the communication system, speaking to his troops. Soldiers of humanity, you know your mission. Eliminate all military targets. Capture the War Master and his command staff. Spare civilians where possible, but remember, they showed no mercy to the worlds they conquered. They chose this war. They chose this outcome. Now we show them the price of their choice. Move out. The army moved. They did not run or charge. They advanced with mechanical precision, each soldier covering another, each squad supporting the next. The first defenders appeared, opening fire with plasma rifles. The humans did not take cover. Their shields absorbed the shots, and they returned fire with weapons that made the plasma rifles look like toys. Watched as human soldiers fired bullets that exploded on impact, scattering fragments that sought out targets with their own guidance systems. He watched as they launched drones smaller than insects that flew into enemy positions and released clouds of gas that made soldiers fall unconscious in seconds. He watched as they used sonic weapons that shattered bones and collapsed lungs without leaving visible wounds. The military had trained for years. They were fierce warriors, proud and strong. Against the humans, they lasted 17 minutes. Target the command center, Wu ordered. War Master Bo is there. I want him alive. 6 soldiers broke from the main force. They moved through the city like ghosts, avoiding patrols, disabling security systems, leaving no trace. Followed them through their helmet cameras. They reached the command center, a massive building at the city's heart. The entrance was guarded by 50 elite soldiers in powered armor. The humans did not slow down. They threw devices that looked like small stones. The devices stuck to the guards' armor and emitted pulses of electromagnetic energy. Every guard fell, their armor systems fried, their weapons useless. The humans walked past them into the building. Inside, they found War Master Bo in his command room, surrounded by his staff. The War Master was huge, nearly 3 meters tall, covered in scales and muscle. He held a plasma cannon that could blow a hole through a building. He pointed it at the lead human soldier. "You will not take me alive," Bo snarled. The human moved so fast almost missed it. One moment, Bo was aiming his cannon. The next, the weapon was on the floor and Bo was on his knees, his arms bent at angles that made wince. The human had disarmed him in less than a second. "War Master Bo," the soldier said. Her voice was calm, professional. "You are under arrest for crimes against sentient life. You will stand trial before the Galactic Council. Resist, and I will make this hurt." Bo tried to fight. He was strong, trained in a dozen combat styles. The human broke both his arms and 3 of his ribs in 5 seconds. Then she injected him with something that made him go limp. Target secured, returning to extraction point. The operation continued. Over the next hours, humans swept through every military installation on the planet. They captured commanders, destroyed weapon stockpiles, disabled shipyards, and they did it all without firing a single shot at civilians. When families huddled in their homes, human soldiers walked past without looking at them. When children ran through the streets, confused and scared, humans stopped to move them to safety. "You see," Wu said to, "we are not monsters. We do not kill for pleasure, but we are efficient, we are thorough, and we always complete the mission." "Your soldiers are like machines," said quietly. "They do not hesitate, they do not question, they just do." "No, they are not machines, they are professionals. They have trained for this their entire lives. Every soldier you see down there has spent years learning how to fight, how to kill, how to survive. But more importantly, they have learned when to fight and when to show mercy. That is what makes us different from The main army reached the government district. Officials tried to negotiate, offering surrender if the humans promised to leave. Wu's response was broadcast on all frequencies. "There are no negotiations. The empire is ended. Your military is destroyed. Your fleets are scattered. Your colonies are liberated. You chose to wage war against peaceful worlds. You chose to commit genocide. Now you face the consequences. Lay down your weapons and you will be treated fairly. Fight and you will be eliminated." Most surrendered. A few tried to fight and were neutralized in seconds. By the end of the first day, the capital was secure. By the end of the first week, the entire planet was under human control, and the casualties among civilians were fewer than 1,000, most from accidents and panic. Scholar Na joined on the command ship. She had been documenting everything, recording the war for future generations. "They are fighting the war they always fought," she said. "Fast, precise, overwhelming. This is what humanity was built to do." "It is terrifying," admitted. "Yes, but it is also necessary. They would have destroyed us. They would have kept conquering until the entire galaxy burned. The humans stopped them in 3 months. 3 months, Commander. We fought for 9 and achieved nothing." The campaign continued. Human forces moved through the empire like a scalpel, cutting out the military while leaving the civilians intact. They destroyed warships but left transports alone. They captured commanders but released conscripts. They were ruthless but not cruel, efficient but not evil. And then they made their final mistake. On a remote colony world, a commander released bioweapons into the water supply of a council city. Millions died in hours. Men, women, children, all dead from diseases engineered to kill as painfully as possible. It was an act of spite, a final strike from a dying empire. Colonel's response was immediate. She addressed the remnants on all channels. Her voice was cold enough to freeze stars. You have crossed a line. You used weapons of mass destruction against civilians. You committed an act so vile that there is only one appropriate response. By unanimous decision of the human command, the is hereby declared a biological hazard. Evacuation will begin in 24 hours. Anyone remaining after that time will be subject to sterilization protocols. Did not understand. Sterilization protocols. Wu explained, and his voice was heavy with regret. We will clean the planet of all biological life. Every plant, every animal, every microbe. We will turn it into a dead rock. A warning to anyone who thinks about using bioweapons ever again. You cannot do that, said. There are billions of civilians down there. And we are evacuating them. Every ship we have is being diverted to move people off-world. But the planet itself must be made an example. This is the price of using such weapons. This is the price of choosing evil. For 24 hours, the largest evacuation in history took place. Human ships worked alongside council vessels to move people. Millions were saved. But when the time ran out, there were still thousands left. People who refused to leave, who thought the humans were bluffing, who chose pride over survival. Watched as Colonel gave the order. Execute sterilization protocol, make it clean, make it complete. The human fleet fired. Not explosive weapons, not plasma or missiles, something else. Energy that did not destroy but transformed. The planet's surface glowed blue, then white, then faded to gray. When it was over, Prime was dead. Every living thing gone. The cities remained, empty monuments to a civilization that chose war and paid the ultimate price. 97 days, General Wu said softly. The Empire lasted 97 days against humanity. Let that be remembered. Let that be the lesson. Stood in silence, staring at the dead world below. The humans had won. They had saved the Council. But the cost of that salvation was a burden knew would haunt him forever. Because now he understood what Scholar Na had been trying to tell them from the beginning. Humanity was not evil, but they were the most dangerous thing in the galaxy. And they had just reminded everyone why they had left 50,000 years ago. Not because they could not win wars, but because when they did, nothing remained but ashes and silence. The Ring of Accord looked different now. 6 months after the war ended, the conference hall still felt like a tomb. Representatives from 847 worlds gathered once again, but this time the mood was not panic. It was fear, fear of their saviors. High Arbiter stood at the center, looking older than his years. The war had aged him, but more than that, the peace had aged him. Because peace with humanity watching from the shadows was not really peace at all. It was a ceasefire that could end whenever the humans decided it should. We must address the question, said to the assembled delegates. What do we do about humanity? They saved us. They destroyed our enemies. But now they sit in orbit around our worlds, watching, waiting. Some of you have asked them to leave. They refuse. Some of you have asked them to join the council. They refuse that too. So I ask all of you, what do we do? Silence filled the chamber. No one wanted to speak first. No one wanted to be the one who said the quiet part out loud. Finally, a delegate from the spoke. We should be grateful. Without humans, we would all be dead or enslaved. They asked for nothing in return. Another delegate, this one from a species that had lost 3 colonies to the, stood up. Grateful? I am terrified. Did you see what they did? They erased an entire planet of life. They fought a war with such efficiency that it looked easy. What happens if they decide we are the enemy? Who could stop them? The chamber erupted in argument. Some delegates praised the humans. Others feared them. Everyone had an opinion and no one agreed. The door opened. Colonel walked in, now promoted to ambassador. She had changed her military uniform for civilian clothes, but she still moved like a soldier. Behind her walked Scholar Na, the only person who seemed comfortable in the ambassador's presence. High Arbiter said formally, You asked to meet with me, I am here. Gestured to the empty space at the center of the chamber. Ambassador, thank you for coming. We have been debating your people's future relationship with the Council. Many questions have been raised. We hope you can provide answers. Stood straight, her hands behind her back. Ask your questions. I will answer what I can. A delegate from the Outer Rim world spoke first. Why did you come back? After 50,000 years, why return now? Because the galaxy was burning, said simply. We left behind monitoring systems. We promised that if war ever consumed the galaxy again, if genocide became common, we would return. That triggered those systems. We came because we promised we would. And now, another delegate asked, will you stay? Will you join the council? No, we will not stay, and we cannot join the council. Murmurs spread through the chamber, raised his hand for silence. Why not? You are part of this galaxy. You have proven yourselves allies. His expression did not change. Because we do not belong here. We left for a reason, High Arbiter. Humanity is too dangerous to coexist with peaceful civilizations. We are warriors. We were shaped by millions of years of evolution on a death world. We were hardened by thousands of years of war against each other. When we fight to win. We do not stop. We do not compromise. We are very, very good at killing. Then why did you help us? Someone called out. Because we may be warriors, but we are not monsters. We know the difference between necessary violence and cruelty. They crossed that line. They had to be stopped, so we stopped them. Commander stood up from where he had been sitting with the delegation. He had been silent until now, listening, thinking. The past months had changed him. He had seen things that would never leave his memory. Ambassador, I have worked with your people. I have watched your soldiers fight. I have seen your weapons, your tactics, your efficiency. And I have one question that keeps me awake at night. What if we become like the... What if, 100 years from now, the Council turns aggressive? What if we start conquering, destroying, committing the same crimes? The chamber went silent. Everyone stared at, waiting for her answer. She looked at for a long moment, and he saw something in her eyes. Respect, maybe, or pity. Then we will come back, she said quietly, and we will not help you. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. Everyone understood what she meant. If the Council became what they were, humanity would return not as allies but as executioners. Scholar Na stepped forward. Ambassador is telling you the truth that no one wants to hear. Peace is not natural. Cooperation is not the default state of the universe. Violence is always waiting, always ready. They proved that. And humanity is the sword that hangs over this galaxy, ready to fall if we forget that lesson. So we live in fear, a delegate asked. We build our civilization knowing that humans are watching, judging. No, Na said firmly. You live with awareness. You remember what happened. You teach your children about thee and what they became. You build your strength not to conquer but to defend. And you never, ever forget that there are consequences for choosing evil. Nodded, Scholar Na understands. She always has. That is why we are offering something to the Council before we leave. Offering what? Asked. Produced a data crystal from her pocket. Knowledge, technology, not weapons. We will not give you the tools to destroy yourselves, but we will give you the wisdom to defend yourselves. Advanced shield designs, medical technology, faster communication systems, and most importantly, we will leave behind advisors. Humans who will teach your military commanders, your strategists, your leaders. We will help you become strong enough that you never need us again. But you will leave, confirmed. Yes. In 3 months our fleet will return to our home beyond the galactic rim. We will take our weapons, our soldiers, our warships. We will return to the life we built out there, but we will keep watching. The monitoring stations will remain active, and if war comes again, if genocide returns, we will know, and we will come back. A delegate from a peaceful farming world stood up, his voice shaking. I speak for many when I say this terrifies me. You are saying humanity will be our eternal guardians, but also our eternal judges. We must live knowing that if we fail your standards, you will destroy us. Turn to face him directly. I am saying that actions have consequences. The universe does not care about your feelings or your fears. It does not reward good intentions. It rewards strength, preparation, and the will to do what must be done. Humanity learned that lesson the hard way. We nearly destroyed ourselves learning it. Now we are sharing that knowledge with you. What you do with it is your choice. The debate continued for hours. Some delegates argued for accepting the human offer. Others wanted to refuse it to maintain complete independence. But everyone knew the truth. They had no leverage. Humanity held all the power. They could accept the offer or reject it, but either way, the humans would do what they wanted. Finally, High Arbiter called for a vote. The measure passed with a clear majority. The Council would accept human advisors, technology, and knowledge, but not weapons, never weapons. After the vote, met privately with, and Na in a small conference room overlooking the stars. I have one final question, said. Personal, not political. What did you become out there? In 50,000 years beyond the galaxy, what did humanity turn into? Was quiet for a long time. When she spoke, her voice was soft. We became what we needed to survive. We built a new civilization based on discipline, strength, and constant preparation. We raised children who trained from birth to be warriors. We developed technology that makes what you saw look primitive. We turned ourselves into a weapon, Arbiter. A weapon that we pointed outward, away from ourselves, always ready for the day we would be needed again. Do you regret it? Every day, we gave up so much. Art, culture, leisure, peace. Everything humanity was before the Civil War. We became a military society because we had to, because we knew that someday, somewhere, someone would need us, and we were right. Spoke up. Ambassador, you said humanity nearly destroyed itself. How did you stop? How did you pull back from the edge? Smiled, but it was a sad smile. We remembered what we were fighting for. We looked at the ashes of our worlds and asked ourselves if this was what we wanted, and we decided it was not. So we left. We took our ships and our weapons and our anger, and we left this galaxy behind. We thought we could forget. We thought we could heal, but you cannot forget what you are. You can only choose what you do with it. And what will you do now? Na asked. After you return to your home? We will wait, we will watch, and we will hope that we are never needed again. Because every time humanity wages war, we lose a piece of our soul. We are good at killing, scholar, too good. And every time we do it, it becomes a little easier. That is the real danger, not that we will fail to protect you, but that one day we might start to enjoy it. 3 months later, the human fleet prepared to leave. They gathered at the edge of Council space, 347 warships ready to make the jump beyond the galactic rim. Captain Jin and Doctor, who had detected the first human signal, watched from their patrol ship as the fleet formed up. They are really leaving, said quietly. Yes, and the galaxy is safer for it, but also less safe, because now we know what is out there. Now we know what we could become. Do you think they will come back? Jin thought about everything he had seen. The battles, the efficiency, the cold precision of human warfare. I hope not. I hope we never need them again. But if we do, I am glad they exist. The human fleet activated their drives. Space twisted and bent around them. For a moment, the ships hung between realities, visible and invisible at the same time. Then they were gone, vanishing into the darkness beyond the galaxy. On the ring of Accord, Scholar Na stood in her office, updating the historical records. She wrote about the war, the humans, the lessons learned. And at the end, she added a warning for future generations who might forget what had happened here. Humanity was real. They returned when we needed them. They saved us from destruction and then left again, returning to their exile beyond the stars. Let this record serve as a reminder. War is always possible. Evil is always waiting. And somewhere in the darkness, humanity watches. They are not gods. They are not saviors. They are simply the price we pay for forgetting that peace must be earned, defended, and preserved. May we never forget. May we never need them again. but may we always remember that they are there, waiting in the silent home, ready to return if we call, or if we fail. The record was sealed and stored in the deepest archives, and across the galaxy, life returned to normal. People rebuilt, governments reformed. The memory of the faded from immediate fear to historical lesson. But sometimes on clear nights people would look up at the stars and wonder. Out there, beyond the rim, beyond the light of familiar suns, humanity waited, not as myth or legend, but as truth, as guardians, as judges, as the ancient lore that had become terrifyingly real. And in the darkness between galaxies, the human fleet traveled home, carrying with them the weight of what they had done. They had waged war. They had killed millions. They had saved billions. And they would live with that burden until the galaxy called again. Because humanity had made a promise 50,000 years ago, and humans always keep their promises.